What's going on, classmates? My name is Adam Tinsley, and we're going to talk about Sidman Chapter 4, Punishment. Does it work? So, I'm also going to try to do this without boring myself. I actually really enjoy this chapter. However, I just want to make sure that I present this in a way that I enjoy it too. So, here we go. So, some of the key ideas and concepts from the initial pages. Um, does punishment adequately control other people's behavior, more specifically their conduct? So, punishment as a revenge tactic. So, some of the ideas that Simon opens up the chapter with is, hey, punishment is often used as a tactic to get back at people, as opposed to decreasing their, well, not just in addition to decreasing their challenging behavior or their maladaptive behavior. I know that's not an operationally defined way to put it, but let's move on. So, if we think that behavior is ultimately controlled by its consequences as ABA folks or therapists, is punishment even fair to use if ultimately people aren't in full control of their own behavior? Children who misbehave, are they subject to revenge? Not usually. We usually take a different approach when when referring to children. We might use punishment, but we try to use it to teach. At least that's what we claim is our intent. And then if all there was the idea of punishment as a way to enact revenge as an adult as a result of a slight, then perhaps society would rethink the concept entirely. Would we even use it or hold to it if we just thought about punishment in terms of revenge? And then, so with all this being said, what is punishment's purpose? So, what do we get from it? So, in short, Sidman says that we hope punishment induces a behavior change. We hope that people decrease that conduct that led to the punishment as the consequence. So, punishment is used to respond to conduct detrimental to society. Punishment takes on many forms in society: spanking, isolation when it comes to prisoners, economic and physical aggression, bombing of other countries, and retaliation for acts of war, etc. So, just think about, when was the last time society has given someone a reward for behaving appropriately um, as, um, as a method of proactive justice? Rather, we as a society think about punishment as synonymous with the word justice. When was the last time you associated justice um, in some way without punishment being the result? Punishment for somebody. So, punitive measures question. Sidman looks at punitive responses and kind of questions, this intent because of the aforementioned ideas. So he posits that there is not a simple answer whether or not punishment is effective, or just in societal applications for decreasing incidents of bad conduct. So, depending on your moral or religious views, one may take various positions on its utility and morality. If you hold fast to punishment is wrong, or some of the most severe consequences that our system or somebody else's legal system um, might have in terms of punishment, is that actually just? When people go to jail, do they still commit crimes behind bars? Does it even work? Is it even effective? Sidman's claim is that, seems to be that punishment can be efficacious, but there are factors to be considered before its use. How is punishment explored by academics? So this is kind of a long, drawn out section. However, there are some very interesting pieces here. So in this section of the text, it kind of breaks down how punishment is studied by, I guess, in the laboratory setting. So, first of all, you need consistent behavior responding to collect baseline data, and that helps eliminate extraneous variables. So, the best way to do that is to use reinforcement as a way to get consistent responding from a subject or an individual, and that artificially creates baseline responding. So, in essence, right, if you're looking to test the effects of punishment, what you want to do is provide reinforcement so that you can get consistent responding in behavior. Typically, in experimental settings, this is done by providing mice, rats, pigeons, what have you, with with food by pressing levers and such in an operant chamber. Um, so um, that's basically a way that is tested. But if you think about this with humans, right? Like if you're looking to test out punishment, do you want to test out the effects of punishment in natural settings? What could be some of the implications of that ethically? What about the responding that occurs in reaction to that punishment? Is there a way to control for that? Even if you provide reinforcement as that basis for the baseline responding. So he talks about other technical ways to deliver reinforcement and measure punishment. One of the biggest things that he keeps mentioning is shock treatment as punishment, but that's not necessarily, well, not at all usually appropriate for applied settings. Just so you know, if you didn't know before, testing pain responses as punishers is not recommended due to ethical considerations, as we previously discussed. And then punishment in experimental settings with mice or rats provide some data as to how effective punishment can be. And that's kind of the biggest platform that he uses to try to educate us laymen in this whole does punishment work thing. So let's continue to talk about this, right? So the story of the mouse and the lever. This is one of the best examples I've kind of heard. So long story short, a mouse presses the lever, gets reinforced with food. Mouse presses the lever, and then instead of food, gets shocked. So some of the results show that as the EO got stronger in its value altering effect, the AO becomes less potent in its effect. Therefore, the mouse presses the lever even more. So to kind of paint this picture, I'm a mouse. I get food every time I press the lever. That gives you your baseline responding. So I'm continuously pressing this lever to get food. But then all of a sudden, I press the lever and I get a shock instead of food. Right. So and then I'm not getting food anymore. So I keep pressing. So after a while, I might start responding and pressing that lever at first for a while. But then as I get hungrier, or the deprivation of food, right, and that's my only way to get food, what do you think I'm going to do next? I'm going to try to press that lever, especially if I'm stuck in this operant chamber box. So the stronger that deprivation effect from food becomes, the more potent that EO becomes. So the abolishing operation is less potent. I hope I'm using that right. Feel free to correct me in the comments. So it sets up a useful analogy when it comes to prisoners getting released from jail. Right? We often see recidivism, or people return to the behavior that got them put in jail in the first place. But if we really question that and use this mouse example, right? Are we looking at a lack of skills here? Right? If somebody robs a bank, or robs a liquor store, or or some other type of crime, right? Not every crime falls in this category, but are they missing a skill? Can we teach them a skill that might result in them performing a different behavior before they get out of jail? Is that the purpose, or is it just simply a revenge tactic to get back and try to make a situation right that was wrong in society? Other extensions on the same punishment procedure with shock show that the stronger the punisher, right, or the longer the unlawful act or behavior is not performed. So if the shock is stronger, then the longer I might go before pressing that lever again. And the more intense that punisher is, the longer I might go. And it can even be so intensely applied that I might not ever press that lever, no matter how hungry I get. Right. Um, so that brings up some interesting questions. So let's talk about this some. So if punishment works best when the intensity is high, then the question then becomes what type of punishments are too intense, or what is that level of intensity that's necessary to apply to extinguish that behavior. Um, so I don't have an answer for you. It's just something to think about. Sidman goes on to talk about replacement behaviors and how they can be a useful tool when an individual's repertoire is not socially sufficient to access what a person needs. Also talks about shaping procedures. When a person's repertoire is not complete, maybe punishment got them to respond in a different way, but that way is still not acceptable. So, for instance, I hit my little brother, or I stopped hitting my little brother because as a result of punishment. But now I'm smashing all of my dolls. Is that an acceptable behavior? So he also goes on to say sometimes punishment can backfire, inadvertently conditioning a subject to receive punishment before receiving something reinforcing. So, for example, this could be the kid that learns that I have to do a negative behavior. I hate to equivocate on the term negative, but I have to do a maladaptive social behavior like hit somebody with my open hand or closed fist in order to receive adult attention. So I'm going to do that behavior um, so that I can be reprimanded. Right. So I'm being punished every time I do this, but this is the only way I know how to access that form of reinforcement. So here go your questions. I asked this question or posed this question before. So if punishment works best when the intensity is high, um, then the question becomes what types of punishment are too intense, or when is that level of punishment, when is the level of intensity necessary to apply? So when do you have to punish some? When is it okay to punish somebody so intense that it extinguishes the behavior? And what situations do you think punishment is a more viable response to poor conduct than the application of reinforcement? And that's all, folks, like Anthony Davis said to the Pelicans.